welcome to a new episode of Off the Bench with RGT. Today I will be talking about the ICC Champions Trophy that begins in a couple of days from now. Who my favorites are, who my dark horses are, what my general thoughts are about the tournament. So let's dive right in. Let's first talk about the teams who I think will do well. The first one is none other than India. In most ICC tournaments, at least in recent years, they've gone in as favorites, and especially in subcontinental conditions, I definitely back them as favorites as well. Let me talk to you about why I think so. You know what? I feel like they've got a very balanced team. Yes, of course, the world's best bowler, Jasprit Bumrah, is not fit. But I think having Shami back will actually really help. I think he'll lead the attack superbly, and he'll be well supported with Arshdeep and Harshit Rana and Hardik Pandya in the pace department. The form of Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill is definitely good news for India. We saw it in the recently concluded series against England. I think Gill scored 250s and 100. Rohit got 100 as well. And when Shubman Gill performs well, India tend to do well because two of them give a great start to the batting order and the rest just follow. And we saw that. Shreyas Iyer coming back into the Indian team after more than a year out and performing superbly, right? We've seen that he's gone back to the drawing board and practiced against his weakness, which was the short ball. And he's dispatching these short balls for sixes and fours now. I think he scored a lot of runs in the series against England at an average of about 60, which is great news for India as well. But you know what? I think the main reason why I feel India will do well is because of their three world-class all-rounders in Pandya, Akshar Patel and Jadeja. I feel like there was a lot of talk about Jadeja and Akshar being in the same team, considering they offer the same sort of skill sets. And I was one of them questioning as well. But I feel like having Akshar gives you that option of throwing in a left-hander at a number 4 or number 5. And he's done that well, right? We've recently seen it in the couple of matches that he's pushed to the number 5 position in the batting order and he's done well. And Jadeja, of course, he's been bowling superbly. He ages like fine wine. He's been doing superbly, getting wickets. And we've seen since Gambhir has taken over, he likes India to bat deep till the number 8 position. So, to have Hardik Pandya batting at 5, KL at 6, or even Akshar at 5, Hardik at 6 maybe, and then you have the likes of Rahul and Jadeja to bat at 7 and 8. That's great. India will bat deep and I think they will do well in this year's tournament again. Okay, let's talk about New Zealand. They are everyone's second favorite team, aren't they? Honestly, if India don't reach the final, I will be rooting for New Zealand to go out there and win it. They've had terrible luck in ICC tournaments. They've always reached the semis, finals level, but unfortunately never kind of gone over the line and won an ICC tournament. But I think it's about time they'll do it. They've had a superb build-up to this tournament. I think they beat Sri Lanka in an ODI series in January. And very recently, they won the tri-series against South Africa and Pakistan. Beating Pakistan in Pakistan, especially with so much news around them being the hosts and them being one of the favorites to win the tournament in these conditions. I think they completely outplayed Pakistan in both the matches in the group stage as well as in the final of the tri-series. New Zealand were winners comfortably. Honestly, I feel like, again, having world-class all-rounders helps New Zealand stand out from some of the other teams. The likes of Glenn Phillips, yes, people may not call him a great bowler, but you know what? He's effective. We saw it in Indian conditions in the Test series as well. We saw it in the ODI series now as well. He does a job. He's more than just a part-timer. He will be relatively economical and get you those wickets off and on. Mitchell Santner, who I think is so underrated, but honestly, he is a world-class bowler in my opinion, especially in these slow turning pitches. We see how smartly he bowls. He bowls with his head. Honestly, he uses his brain. He's a very, very smart cricketer. And I think having Michael Bracewell as an all-rounder will also help them do well. Hard hitter, comes in at the back end of the innings and gets those quick runs, hits sixes for fun. And he's a more than decent off-spinner. I think having them three all-rounders will help them stand out. And honestly, I think New Zealand should do well in the ICC tournament. Another team who I think will do well in this year's ICC Champions Trophy is South Africa. Again, everyone's third team, I suppose, at least mine, honestly. They've again been labeled as the chokers of the big tournaments. They reached the final of the 2020 World Cup last year as well, and I feel like they'll do well in the ICC Champions Trophy this year. They've got some match winners, in the likes of Marco Jansen, Heinrich Klaassen, Markram if he's in form. And then you have the likes of Rabada leading the attack. And, let's not forget Rassie van der Dussen is making a comeback in the ODI team, and he had a great SA20. So he'll be a big plus in the team as well. Temba Bavuma is back in form. He scored runs in the recently concluded Tri-Series and right before as well, I think against Sri Lanka at home. That batting looks sorted, and honestly, I feel like they've got two of the most exciting hard hitters in limited overs cricket. Ryan Rickelton and Tristan Stubbs. Stubbs did not have a great SA20, but Ryan Rickelton in the last 1 year, his curve has just been upwards, right? He's scored runs for fun and he scored them quickly. He's got hundreds in Test cricket, ODI cricket, T20 cricket, franchise cricket, everywhere he's played. And I recently followed him in the SA20, and honestly, when that guy strikes the ball, it's gone for six. There's a lot of talk about him being very similar to Quinton de Kock, but I think he has his own style, and he'll be a big plus. Having that fearless attitude in the likes of Stubbs and Rickelton will be a plus for South Africa. And I honestly think they have a world-class spinner. Keshav Maharaj does not get the plaudits. He's very underrated in my opinion. But the guy is world class. He never really goes for runs and chips in with wickets off and on. And in subcontinental pitches, I think he will be a big plus to have in the squad. And he's so experienced. He knows how to pull the pace back. He knows when to bowl a quicker one. He's great in my opinion, and so underrated. So having him in the squad will be a big plus. And I think South Africa will have a good tournament as well. Okay, now let's talk about some of the teams that I think have kind of missed a trick going into the Champions Trophy. The first team is England. I'm all for aggressive cricket and taking the game to their opponent, but it needs to come with a level of caution and a level of common sense coming into your game. And I think that's where England really lacked in the series against India recently. Their game plan and strategy is correct, but I don't feel like they're executing it well enough, and that's the worry. And I'll give you an example about what I mean by that. When you're batting and you're losing a flurry of wickets in quick succession, I feel like you need to rebuild. You need to take it easy and rebuild, otherwise there will be a massive collapse. And I feel that's where they are kind of lacking. When they're losing a flurry of wickets, you need someone to come in with a calm head. And however aggressive your style of play might be, some common sense needs to come in, and they need to rebuild, because you get plenty of chances to score big towards the death end. Because if you don't do that, what happens is that there'll be a collapse, and that's what we saw in all the three ODIs against India recently. And you know what? The main thing I feel where they've really missed a trick is not picking a world-class all-rounder. Yes, I understand Moeen Ali is retired, but Liam Livingstone is probably the most overrated cricketer in world cricket today. He goes for plenty of runs. Yes, there's so much talk about him being able to bowl off spin and leg spin. But you know what? When you go for runs and barely take wickets, it doesn't matter. Whether you're an off spinner or a leg spinner, it really doesn't matter. And he barely scores big as well. He might come and score a quick fire 20, 30 or 14, 15 balls. But in ODI cricket, you need more than that, especially when you're the leading all-rounder of your team. So in subcontinental pitches, to have Liam Livingstone as your second spinner and your main all-rounder, I think they will struggle. The next team who I feel like have missed a trick going into the tournament is Pakistan. Yes, I know they're the hosts of the tournament and there's a lot of talk about them being one of the favorites naturally. But you know what? I honestly feel like they've missed a trick when they picked their squad going into this tournament. Not picking a world-class spinner in home conditions is mind-boggling, honestly. So much talk about Sajid Khan and Nauman Ali. I am shocked that none of them are picked in this squad. I mean, come on. I know they played red ball cricket and taken wickets in red ball cricket only, but have you given them a chance in white ball cricket? I don't think you have given them a fair chance. So when they've recently performed superbly in the same conditions as the tournament with the red ball, you have to give them a chance with white ball. And they are 100% better than the likes of Khushdeep Shah, who I don't think is a frontline spinner anyway. He's like a bowling all-rounder is what I hear. And the wrist spinner, Abrar Ahmed, he goes for plenty of runs, and having no world-class finger spinner in your squad at home is honestly shocking. So I feel like they missed a trick by not picking at least Sajid Khan, who I think would have done brilliantly in this tournament. And my gut tells me that this will backfire going into the later stages of the tournament if they progress. Okay, let's talk about Australia now. I mean, in most ICC tournaments, they go in as favourites, and naturally so. But I feel like this Champions Trophy, they're going in as bit of underdogs. And honestly, it's solely because of their losses in big players in terms of Stark, Hazelwood, Stoinis, Cummins. I know people don't rate Cummins as a captain so much, but honestly, his captaincy is superb. And he'll be a big miss. You know what we've seen with Hazelwood, Cummins and Stark, at least, whatever the conditions, whether you're playing in Bangladesh, England, South Africa, India, doesn't matter, they produce results. So honestly, they are world class, and not having them will be a big miss. And I feel like their next crop of fast bowlers, at least in limited overs cricket, are not world class yet. The likes of Spencer Johnson, Nathan Ellis, and all of these guys who will be replacing them in the tournament, I don't think are world class yet. So that'll be a big miss. And I also feel not having world class all rounders like Cameron Green, Mitchell Marsh, Marcus Stoinis retired recently. And I don't know how they're going to manage that all rounder spot. Glenn Maxwell, yes, of course, but he's not as consistent, at least in recent years, as he used to be earlier. So I don't know how they're going to manage that all rounder spot. And it can bite them, honestly. And their batting also, I feel, is too dependent on Travis Head. Like, if he clicks at the top of the order, great, you'll get a 300 plus score. But if he doesn't, I don't see big hitters in their middle order. Yes, Steve Smith will hang around there, but I don't know if he's that good in limited overs cricket anymore, honestly. Labuschagne had a very rough patch in limited overs cricket recently. And then you have the new guys. You have Josh Inglis, who might spring a surprise. But honestly, their team and squad looks very fragile. And the spinning department, or rather the entire bowling department, is just going to be heavily dependent on Adam Zampa. So if he has an off day, I don't see who else will take the wickets. So yeah, I feel like Australia is going into this tournament as underdogs and not favourites. Great, that was that. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Off the Bench with RGT. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave your comments down below on who you think will have a good ICC Champions Trophy and who your dark horse is, and whether you agree with my thoughts on certain teams missing out a trick with their squad selection. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one. Bye.